Earlier today, we discussed how Donald Trump's favorite, closest, most personal MAGA advisor, Laura Loomer, a far right conspiracy theorist and racist, appeared to have burned the bridge with Trump publicly and the Republican Party by saying she won't vote in the 2026 midterms, which, of course, Trump needs as many hands on deck as possible. Apparently, there were so many other tweets and messages that she posted in addition to that. She went on an unhinged rant against something Trump did today, as we discussed, an act of egregious public corruption. And we have to talk about the totality of her response because, again, there was apparently a hell of a lot more to it than what I initially suspected. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends. So as you know, Laura Loomer is one of Donald Trump. Laura Loomer is Donald Trump's closest MAGA advisor. This is a person who went on Trump Force One, which is the Trump private plane when he was a presidential candidate and Biden was in office. President Biden, of course, had Air Force One. It was a source of drama on the campaign trail because she's insane. And he not only, would engage with her on social media, but he actually had her in close proximity. And since he got back into power, no, she's not in the White House, but she's the de facto HR manager of the White House. She got Trump's disgraced national security advisor, former national security advisor, Mike Waltz, basically kicked out of his job. She has arranged for the promotions or the demotions or the terminations of multiple Trump employees. She's very, very good at wielding influence over Trump. And so for her to break in this way, it's pretty stunning. So Mediaite has an article on this. Laura Loomer reaches her final straw with Trump. I don't think I'll be voting in 2026. Laura Loomer, the conspiracy theorist and longtime Trump loyalist, has hit her final straw with Trump. And this is after Pete Hegseth, ultimately on Trump's orders, announced earlier today that a Qatari Air Force facility would be built in the United States, specifically Idaho. Now, again, everybody reacted to this because back in 2017, Trump repeatedly said that Qatar is corrupt and a sponsor of terrorism, right? So he's done a 180 on this, and can't help but notice again that this is after he was gifted a $400 million jet, right, a luxury jet, and the Trump family is building a golf course, in Qatar as well. So again, just pretty naked corruption. Now, you would think that a principled person would say, hey, that's really corrupt. I'm done with this. Laura Loomer takes a different approach because she's racist, right? So she goes, what the hell is going on? Why are we trying to train more Muslims how to fly planes on U.S. soil? Didn't we already learn our lesson? Oh, Jesus. Okay. Didn't we already learn our lesson? Why are we encouraging more Islamic infiltration of our country by the funders of Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood? This is very bad for our national security. Qatar is one of the largest funders of Islamic terror. Now they're being rewarded by a Qatar Air Force base in Idaho? This is outrageous. We are allowing the Islamic enemy to gain so much ground in our country. I will never support this. It's one of many posts, okay? Again, nothing wrong with objecting to, Qatar, who has, at a bare minimum, a very checkered history of civil liberties and human rights abuses, right? A lot of basis by which to say this is inappropriate. But again, she doesn't even go that far. She doesn't say, hey, listen, the Qatari government is corrupt. The Qatari government is violent. The Qatari government is regressive. The Qatari government has done so many things that I dislike. No, she attacks them on the basis that they're Muslim, okay? But again, this is not the only rant she gets into. Here's another one. She says, if the GOP continues to Islamify our country and continues to allow funders of Islamic terrorism from Qatar to come into our country when they have a documented history of funding Islamic terror, I am not voting in 2026, and I won't be encouraging others to vote either. I didn't vote for the Islamification of my country. If the GOP is going to allow Muslims to have military bases on U.S. soil when they know these Qataris are funding Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, then voting in 2026 is a waste of time. Now, I mentioned in a previous video, she mentioned in a separate tweet, we've not gotten to it, that she won't be voting in 2026. This is a separate post. This is just one of many rants that she went on, okay? Let's see. Here's another one. Never thought I'd see Republicans. Oh, we did read this one. This was the original one where she says, I don't think I'll be voting in 2026. And again, she plays this clip of Trump. She throws Trump's words back in his face. So let's, just as a brief refresher, this is what Donald Trump had to say, her cult leader, back in 2017.
The nation of Qatar, unfortunately, has historically been a funder of terrorism at a very high level. And in the wake of that conference, nations came together and spoke to me about confronting Qatar over its behavior. So we had a decision to make. Do we take the easy road, or do we finally take a hard but necessary action? We have to stop the funding of terrorism. I decided, along with Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, our great generals and military people, the time had come to call on Qatar to end its funding.
So that was Donald Trump in 2017. And so Laura Loomer's like, hey, what the hell, Donald? What the hell? And apparently there's plenty more where that came from in terms of Laura Loomer's rants. Again, this is stunning. She says, so what plans does the Department of War have to stop the inevitable construction of militarized Muslim Brotherhood mosques all over Idaho to accommodate the animalistic Qatari terrorist invaders our government is now forcing upon the majority white Christian state of Idaho? So again, just want to be so clear. This is the problem with Laura Loomer. Okay, Laura Loomer doesn't attack the corruption of Trump for agreeing to this. Hey, they give you a $400 million jet and you're cutting deals with them to have a $1 billion golf course. You don't give a shit about that, Laura Loomer. She just hates brown people. She hates Arabs. She hates Muslims. And so that's the crux of her disagreement here. That's what has her frothing at the mouth, right? You're going to have these Muslims coming into Idaho. Idaho's white and Christian. You can't have Muslims there. That's not what I agreed to, Donald. She doesn't have that accent, but that's growing up in rural Kentucky. That's my default accent for MAGA. So just wait till one of those Qataris walks into a church and guns down Americans once they're on U.S. soil. Does this mean the call to prayer will be broadcasted in Idaho 5 times a day? When our government offers us, quote, thoughts and prayers when these Muslims kill Americans or drop bombs on our cities in fighter jets our government trained them to use, will they be asking us to pray to Allah? Do we have to pay for the Arabic lessons, or will those be funded by the Emir? I hope we can get some answers. P.S. Do we need it? Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. So then she talks about genital mutilation. She says that this will result in genital mutilation for Americans as a consequence of this. Holy shit. This is indeed unhinged. Oh, my God. She keeps going. Oh, okay. Donald Trump is an amazing man. I proudly voted for him 3 times. But if he allows Islam to gain ground in our country, all of his hard work and sacrifices will be wiped out by genocidal Muslims who seek to impose Sharia law in the United States and destroy the West. Islam equals a death cult. Again, just, it's amazing how much she'll tolerate in terms of corruption and everything else. We're finally seeing the breaking point with Laura Loomer. It's not corruption. It's not disagreement. It's not even the Epstein files. She complained about the Epstein files. It's her hatred of brown people, of Arabs, of Muslims supersedes her loyalty to Trump, apparently. Over the years, I've been very generous with my time and resources helping Republicans get elected to office, probably too generous. As I get bombarded with requests for favors ahead of 2026 and 2028, I've decided I can't be so generous. Going forward, I will not be endorsing or supporting any candidate for office unless they do the following. Call for a ban on Muslims holding political office in the United States. See, like this is unhinged. This is unhinged. This is pure racism. This is pure racism and religious bigotry. Like, again, she doesn't just have, there are understandable reasons to have beef with the Qatari government having an Air Force base in the United States. But to call for a nationwide ban on Muslims holding political office? Pretty fucked up, right? Call for the Muslim Brotherhood to be designated a foreign terrorist organization. Call for the Trump admin to sign an executive order banning Sharia law. There is no Sharia law in the United States. Call for the creation of a nationwide ban on halal animal sacrifice on U.S. soil. Call for a federal ban on cousin marriage. Condemn Qatar for financing Hamas. Now, again, as somebody who grew up in rural Kentucky, I want to make some jokes about the cousin marriage thing, but I'm going to keep those to myself. Condemn Qatar for funding Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. Support banning the burqa and the hijab. Make female genital mutilation a federal felony. I mean, it's already a crime. You can't mutilate. Again, I'm not sure what she's talking about there. Ban all foreign military bases on U.S. soil. Supporting making it illegal to take your oath of office on the Quran. And again, that's insane. There's no federal law, by the way, which requires you to take your oath of office on the Bible. It's just a long-standing tradition. There have been, I believe, I can't remember Congresswoman Omar I want to say she took her oath of office on the Quran. I can't remember, but it's not required by law. And again, this is just pure religious bigotry and racism. If you're not willing to do those things or publicly pledge to support these things, don't bother asking me for help. You're not worthy of my support unless you agree with everything listed above. I'm done with the GOP Islamifying my country. I will not be sacrificed at the hands of Muhammad on U.S. soil. Jesus. Oh my God. She keeps going. There isn't a single Trump supporter who supports allowing Qatar to have a military base on U.S. soil. Listen, I think you're dead wrong there. I think that for most people, and I suspect potentially even Laura Loomer is burning the bridge now, but give her time. She freaked out over the Epstein thing, but she like the late Charlie Kirk was willing to bend over backwards to try to give Trump as many outs as possible. There's a single Trump supporter who supports allowing Qatar to have a military base on U.S. soil. I don't know who told. I'm sure they default don't like it, but they'll support Trump no matter what. Most people will. I don't know who told Trump that this was a good idea, but it has made people not want to vote. This is the type of thing I would expect from a President Ilhan Omar. So again, even as she's burning the bridge with Trump, she can't bring herself. She is criticizing him in so many roundabout ways. She can't quite bring herself to find the courage of her insane convictions to call him out directly. Hegseth didn't make this decision. Trump did. Hegseth is merely executing Trump's deal. She feels comfortable going after Hegseth and the Republican Party writ large. She can't quite find the principle to take on Trump. What's next? Are we going to open up the border to every Muhammad and his child brides? Might as well. How long do we have bombs dropped on our heads by Muslim pilots trained on U.S. soil? It's not like they're rapidly being deported. Just check the numbers. America was a dream. Again, just more unhinged. Oh my God. Oh. I didn't I'm glad Idaho has so many Christian militias. Oh, Jesus. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, she's having her brain broken as a consequence of this. This is stunning shit from Laura Loomer. And I don't know what this means for the MAGA movement other than she is by far more consistently unhinged about this than she's even calling for a revolt. She says the people of Idaho need to revolt against the creation of Qatari air base in their state. So a revolt against the federal government that would be arranging for this. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Trump has taken people back who've said all sorts of unhinged shit at him, even when it's true. Marco Rubio is now Secretary of State. Lindsey Graham, he has on a leash. They've all said quite honest things about Donald Trump, and he's taken them back as long as they bend the knee in an obsequious way. I don't know. I don't know how Laura Loomer comes back from this. Unless, of course, she bends the knee. She is putting herself in a corner. This is not going to get Trump to back down because Trump values a $400 million luxury jet and a multi-billion-dollar golf resort in Qatar than he does Laura Loomer's rants here. So, again, but between this and Marjorie Taylor Greene's rebellion, we're starting to see the tapestry of MAGA unravel. And I'm here for it, even though I think that Laura Loomer's responses here are incredibly unhinged. But a divided MAGA is better than a unified MAGA. So we'll see what happens to this. But she's in the midst of a full-blown friggin' meltdown here. Even I'm shocked. I didn't read all of these things. We were doing it in real time, and I'm just like, she won't stop. This is one right after another. This is back to back to back to back to back. In the meantime, folks, let me know what you think in the comments.